alternative law, you have your legal counseling. But you can add some of these, which I will describe. In community development sites, such as GK, and whatever other community development sites there is need for paralegal training, so that simple things like preparing an affidavit, we can teach, we can train those who are there, so that they need not go to a lawyer who will charge them an arm and a leg for a simple affidavit. Okay, so paralegal training is one clear role that law students can do. Also, documentation, site documentation. You know, when you open a community development site, a GK site, things like titling and you know, deed of donations and whatnot, memorandum of agreement. Law students, I believe, can help in that area. Mediation, simple things. May nag-aaway dyan, may nagsusuntukan, may ano, hindi naman nagpapatayan kasi medyo ano yun. But anyway, maybe simple mediation processes can be introduced. Actually, when you go to a really depressed area, you will understand why tempers can flare up, at just like that, because the conditions are so depressing. That's why it's called a depressed area. That violence is almost predictable. What else? Well, not only for elections, but voters' education. You know that there is always a criticism that among the poor, their votes are purchased and all these things. Some of that true, some of that not true. But I think we should reinforce through voters' education so that eventually they are able to really vote according to their conscience. What else can law students and lawyers do? I mentioned to you our work in prisons, and for those in my class, who are in my class here and in theology, yes, yeah. We had as guest Attorney Tom Prado is actively involved in the prison ministry, and hindi lang nga natuloy ata yung activity because there were reasons for it, but that's still open. You know, simple lang ito, pero napakalaki ng impact sana. No? Because the statistics, despite some of the things that are happening, the statistics on congestion of prisons are still very high. And congestion of prisons, simply because many of those who are inside should have been released if there was just legal assistance given to them. If this can be done really in a massive way, you'll also see very significant decongestion of our prisons that will allow also to improve the conditions there. And maybe over the medium or long term, maybe a group of us particularly can look at penal reforms. Our penal system is still very oriented to punishment. Of course, that is part of it. But if you want the prisoners to also at some point become useful members of society, we need also an atmosphere of not only penalties, but restorative justice, as we call it. For migrant workers, we can all help, as a start, even just the simple checking or validating whether their recruitment agencies are actually licensed. Because many still fall prey to unlicensed agencies that fleece out every ounce of money from our poor fellow men, fellow Filipinos, without conscience. No? And so maybe we can help there. And also, in many occasions, there are actual legal cases that come up. And so that's an area. For social entrepreneurship, for those involved in businesses, and particularly in the community development areas, even helping others comply with requirements for doing business. Okay, that is a big help because many do not know. In fact, around this room, a lot of us don't know exactly what is required if you want to open up a business. And when you look at the requirements, you can actually get discouraged and not proceed with it anymore. Sometimes it makes it so difficult. I mean, the situation, our government, or whatever it is, our systems make it so difficult for others to just simply get involved in doing business because of the voluminous and other requirements. So lawyers, law students can help in that area. Now, for the medium term, Father Ben suggested something this morning. This is harder work, but we can put it in the agenda. You know, maybe advocacy to really help out ongoing efforts, because there are ongoing efforts already to improve our legal system, to introduce legal reforms. And even if these were bite-sized legal reforms, it would help a lot. I think your dean here teaches at the Philippine Judicial Academy, and I believe many of the things discussed there are also towards that, improving the legal system, the delivery of legal and legal services. And so there is so much to do, and you need not wait for you to pass the bar. Things can start now, and I'm actually requiring my students in theology to just do that, because things can start now, and the work is urgent. Over in CFC, we have a group of lawyers that we call the STMA, or St. Thomas More and Associates, because St. Thomas More is also our patron, is also our guide, and you know the famous line. I think you are familiar with that here in Ateneo. Famous line of St. Thomas More, that I am the king's good servant, but that fill in the blanks, but God's first. Okay. So his priorities are clear. And friends, ladies and gentlemen, the challenge to law students and lawyers alike are quite exciting. They go against the flow of the river in society, but as I can speak from experience, that if you are ready to truly be men and women for others and are willing to forego really rich lawyering, and it will pay. I mean, you will be taken care of. You will not become part of the statistics as part of those living in poverty. But there is, if we are willing to live simply, as Father Ben also cited this morning, there's a lot that we can do. Lawyers have always been the shapers of nations, for good or for ill. I hope that all of us here in this room and many of your other friends can be the shapers of this country for good. There is probably one thing that we need to do, and I am happy that your dean and the law school has really taken it to heart. And that's the only reason why I could not refuse him when he asked me to teach the social teachings of the church. Because in all of this, we have to have grounding. In all of this, we have to have an anchor. And when we talk about the principles of subsidiarity, of human dignity, and all of that in the social teachings of the church,